name is Kathleen Moore. I want to welcome you to our pruning demonstration. I've been pruning probably for 40 years now. So I learned how to prune blueberries from this really old man who had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of plants. I don't know how many acres he had out in Corbett, Oregon. And I was, every spring he would let us know, and we would come up and he'd teach us all how to do it. And then we had all the time we wanted to just prune a whole row if we wanted, or prune just a couple plants. But it really helped seep in the knowledge that he was teaching. And I looked through the entire section on gardening and pruning at Powell's bookstores, and no one taught the way that he taught how to do blueberries, because there's such a unique plant in how they grow with their 3 and 4 year cycle, rather than how I don't know any other plant that grows that way. So that's why I love it. And then he bequested his whole blueberry farm to another man that I knew. And so I just kept going out every spring, and that's how I learned. And I'm so thankful to both of them. It's to me, it's just the way to make blueberries shine. Oh, here. So this was the whip last year, right here, that main one that you see. And now it's sending off these, and each of these have tons of berries on them. So the second year is probably the most prolific. And then the third year you get this, where you had the whip, then it made branches going off that made berries at the end, and now it's making these berries all along here. So the third year is prolific. By the fourth year, you're getting into this kind of thing, where there's very few berry buds. It doesn't look real healthy. That's the fourth year. Okay, so, and then you want to get those, at least get the deadwood out, which is probably like the 5th year is the deadwood. So, I would just kind of look at this bush and go, okay, what first needs to go? Here's an old one that's going right into the center. It has some coming off here, so I might first prune it right to that point to leave this, and then clean it up. But later on I might go, nah, we're going to still get rid of that. But I always make my first cuts less drastic. Another thing I always do is you should never cut more than 1/3 of the blueberry plant off. So I make a pile somewhere where I'm not going to be walking a lot. So that'll be my pile over there. And I'll just keep putting all the prunings there so I can look, have I taken out 1/3 of this plant or not? Okay, so that's how I'm looking. I'm just cleaning these little ones up because I'm going to leave this. It has a lot of berries on it. Then I clean off the end thing. I'm using so here's one berry bud. So I'm just going to save it to that and that, so that then there's 2 berry buds. But this up here, nothing's really going to grow on that. And I'll cut this one off too, just because that's getting older. But see how I'm cleaning it up? It just starts looking so much prettier. What our purpose is, our goal, is to go from a kind of tangled, twiggy bush to this. It's like turns out like a piece of art. It's so beautiful, and it just kind of gracefully flows around. That's what you're looking to do. So that's kind of how I keep my eye when I'm pruning. Now here's one coming up, and it's going into the center, so I'm going to take a lot of that off. Here's one good whip. No, the deer ate it, I think.
Most likely, yes.
Yeah, they do. So I guess I'll take that off since the deer ate it. I'm just going to take off stuff that's kind of going in towards the center and doesn't have much berry potential on it. So see, I'm just pruning off deadwood and things that don't have any berry buds on them. Yeah, so now, what else is going into the center? Here's one coming right in the center. I always pull it out kind of and look at it. I always look at how many berry buds does it have on it. This one has some here. Not that. So I take those off. This one only has one berry bud on it, so I guess it has another one, but it's not enough. And after I'm done doing this, I'm going to show you about pruning. You want to prune to the collar. Whoops. I'll show you what that looks like. We'll have to get a close-up on it, but I'm not there yet. And yeah, take off minor stuff first and then look again at the bush. See, I had taken some off of this one, and then I went back and looked. I went, oh, well, I did take kind of you make mistakes sometimes. That's human. So I did take off one that was kind of a little whip, but it happens. You just say, sorry, plant, I didn't mean to do that. Because I didn't look all the way up and down it really carefully that time. And this one's running into this one, so I'm just going to take that off since it's all going into the center. Okay, now, let's do something a little closer. Oh, I was going to show the collar thing. So, here's a good example. This whip came off of here, but I'm going to take it off because it only has one tiny berry thing. But you want to look down in here. Can you see that up close? There's this, it's called the collar. You don't want to cut it right flat to the bush, which is what my grandpa taught me. I've learned now since then, they found out that it'll heal up way better if you leave that little collar. You don't want to leave, let me find another one to cut so I can show you what not to do. Here's one. You don't want to like leave that much, cut it. That's not a good example for you. You can edit that out. Let me see where. So I would, if I were cutting this one, you can see that better. I wouldn't cut it that high up. See, there's quite a bit. That way, that lets in more fungal activity and decay. So I look kind of, where is it? See, that's not like cutting into these branches coming off. It's just a way to honor it more, and that will heal up better than something that's left up high. It's left long. Okay. Now this limb can tell you pretty clearly where you want to cut. It has died back to that area. So you can, that's just kind of, it can be your guide about where to cut sometimes. Here's another thing I'm going to show you when you're cutting. When I showed you the collar along the plant, I don't know how to. So you want your pruners. You want this side, not the fat side, to be next to the branch. Because if the fat side's next to the branch, it always will leave a big part sticking off. So I'm going to turn. I always turn my pruners different ways, so that the flat side and the cutting side of the blade is against the bush. And I won't do that every time, but I try my best. And it just becomes habit where you just turn it so that. And so I'm going to take that whole thing off just to open it up a little. And it only had one berry on it. So this is a plant that's been eaten by I left too much on there. Eaten by deer, so I'm just going to clean it up. But and that's what you'll have to do on your bushes. You'll just have to look at, where do I need to clean this up? What needs to come out? And when I say something needs to come out, it's because there's no berry buds on it all the way along. I also think it's really important to tell, like this plant, this part had a lot of berries all along here last year or 2 years ago. And this looks twiggy now, but it did have a lot of berries. So I always try to say thank you to it for giving us the berries. And that now we're pruning it up so it can give us more berries next year. I'm just cleaning it up. And that, you don't have to get that fussy if you don't want to, but I like it because I look at it kind of like art. But, so our goal is to turn a crowded, cramped, twiggy mass bush into this graceful art form. It almost looks like a dancing lady or something. The transformation is so beautiful.